Hello and welcome. This is the A-Team's project on installing a rear hub electric motor on this bicycle, as well as refurbishing the rest of it. Please enjoy. All right, so we're going to start by changing the tubes and tires on the front wheel because they're shot.
So you're going to want to start with releasing the front brake, and this will let you get the front tire out from between the brake pads. Then you're going to want to release the front tire release and twist it so that you can get it off out of the dropouts. Make sure to use tire spoons in removing the tread from the rim, and when you're reinstalling the new tread, make sure that it's pointed in the right direction. So we did the new tread and new tubes, and you're going to want to ease that slightly inflated tube back in without pinching it, otherwise you'll have to redo it. One trick that we found was using a little bit of baby powder on the tube, helped slip it in under that tread. And this is the final result. So here's the front V brakes that we'll be using. You're going to need an Allen head to remove them. Make sure that the rim is going to go in the right direction along the brake, and make sure that you reinstall it with the correct order of parts. And here's what it looks like after we're done.
So now we're getting into the meat of it. We're going to replace the rear wheel entirely with the rear hub motor. We're going to replace the chain and the brakes.
So just like the front, you're going to want to start by releasing the rear brakes, removing the rear tire, and then installing the V brakes in the rear just like we did in the front. Then for the rear rim, you're going to do the same process for installing the tire and tread that we did on the front tire. Make sure to spin on the rear cassette before going forwards. Now we're going to replace the old chain. Start by following the directions on the chain breaker tool, and then line up the new and old chains. You'll break the new chain where the old chain has a hole. Make sure to put it back on the bike before relinking. Then use the chain breaker tool again to push the pin into the rivet. Now we're going to reinstall the rear wheel. Make sure to use torque arms to provide extra strength to the bike so that it doesn't pull out of its dropouts. Also, make sure that the tire is straight to the frame of the bike so that it doesn't provide horizontal propulsion. Also, feel free to reinstall the front tire to make bike manipulation easier. Next, we're going to install the handlebar controls. Start by removing the old grips to make room for the new grips and twist throttle. Here's the old shifter that we had to cut the brakes off of to make room for the new ones we got. Here's the finished product of the right and left sides. Finally, don't forget to install your display and controller, and here's the finished product. Now that we have the controls installed, let's attach the battery to the frame. Using a bracket, metal clamps, and screws, we secure the battery holder to the frame. Make sure to cut excess clasps. Next, let's install the motor controller. Here's a wiring diagram. Most of the wires were color-coded or only fit one way. Some of the connections we soldered and wrapped in electrical tape. Finally, we ran the wires from the front controls along the frame and connected it using zip ties. Don't forget to connect your rear motor and battery.
Alright, next we're going to connect the ESP32 and wire up the reed switch.
Here's the ESP32 housing. This is connected to the reed switch and is triggered by a neodymium magnet on the spokes of the front wheel. Don't forget a resistor, otherwise you can melt your reed switch.
So here is shifting the rear sprockets. Here's the shifting of the front 3 sprockets. Here's a battery function test. And the brake electric test. The throttle test.
and a front and rear brake test.
Here is one last overview of the bike. And from the A-Team to all of you watching, we want to say thank you, and don't be afraid to ask any questions in the comments below.